John in Virginia, Republican. Let's hear from you.
Well, this is John Barron, and this is the worst decision you've ever had in your life, practically. Jack's going to agree with me, right? But first decision you've ever had in your life. Hakeem Jeffries, who he's a dope, and you have Chuck Schumer, who can't cook a cheeseburger. Of course, these people are happy. But true Americans will not be happy. And you have the woman earlier. I assume she's a woman. She's a Democrat, but she said she's disgraced. She's devastated.
All right, John. We'll go to Chester, who's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
That was pretty good. I thought that was pretty good. Good. Well, this camera's. I'm going to lower myself a little bit here. I'm going to lower myself. Oh, a lot of sorts today. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Vibe Program. I am your host, Joe Newman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Yes, originally it said 11 a.m. Yes, that's what it said. Obviously, I meant otherwise. If you checked locals, you knew I said 11 p.m. If you checked on the post that I put in our community notes here on YouTube, I said 11 p.m. If you checked in Rumble, I said 11 p.m. Everywhere I said 11 p.m. Fine, okay. I did technically schedule that YouTube would go live at 11 a.m. But when you see that, if you really know me, if you've been around a minute, you know that's probably not right. 11 a.m. That doesn't sound right at all. Not like for some just regular show. Especially if I said I have something breaking, which how often do I have something breaking? You think I have something breaking? I'm gonna be waiting like 14 hours to drop that on you? I don't think so. No, I'm oh wow, there's news that broke after 8 p.m. This is stuff you haven't heard elsewhere. You didn't get it, Robert Gouvet. You didn't get it from Tim Pool. You didn't get it from nowhere. I'm giving you something you never heard before. So I know that none of your favorite alternative podcasters, many of whom I greatly respect myself, we had a chance to even bring this to you. I do. So I got the perks of that. You think I'm going to wait till 11 a.m. tomorrow? No. That's not how it works. What I do is I run out there. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I will have a show tonight. And quickly just... And you'll notice I didn't do that on my keyboard because, yes, I did get a new silent keyboard. So if I did that noise, you wouldn't even hear. You hear it? You don't even hear anything. You don't hear anything. You hear nothing. Right. So obviously I go running and I'm like, okay, we're going live right now. StreamYard happens to have this thing. They have this thing where you have to set it, the default for one reason or another, is that you're 2 hours ahead. So if it's after 10 p.m. when you set it, they put you into tomorrow. So then when I'm looking for 11, I'm like, oh, okay, 11. So just click the 11. So it just goes to the next 11 that they see. Rumble's not like that. Rumble's like, no, well, let's go live 4 seconds from now. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's get crazy. That's Rumble. That's Rumble land. In everywhere else, StreamYard specifically, they're like, we assume, obviously, you're not going live for the next 2 hours. That's the default. Now, you can push it up, which is what invariably I end up doing. But the point is, if you're running quick, trying to do it quick, doesn't work. All of a sudden, you're at 11 a.m. That was too much information. That was perhaps too much information. So those of you who might have, been expecting to see some sort of notification a half hour before or something like that, I apologize. I'm sorry about that. In order to help give some people added time to get in here, I do have a bunch of other stuff that I wanted to cover for y'all. I had a bunch of other stuff that I want to cover for you all, so we'll sort of give some time before we get into the whole Fani news. Bring back the old clacker. Ding, ding. Yeah, you're not going to hear that. Those days are bygone. I got tired of everyone yelling at me that I didn't get a new one. Although I also got a new mouse here, and I don't like that the click to me is a little loud. Like the click is kind of a little louder than I would want it to be. I don't know if y'all can hear it when I click, but it's a little long. I can only hope that it comes soon. I can only hope I can only help. I can only hope. All right, so I'm gonna hold that off a little, just for like a little bit. I want to share something I saw with you. I didn't see with you. I saw it by myself. You weren't here with me. You should have been here because good times were had. I had a whole bunch of other things I wanted to share with you. I think I'm going to start with LobsterGate, just because you may have heard something about LobsterGate. You may have heard something about LobsterGate. LobsterGate relates to Pete Hegseth allegedly spending $15 million on lobster in a month. And this is how stupid the left is when it comes to like seeing a report like that. This is just hilarious stupidity, levels of stupidity. Is Jim here? You can't join if you don't send me. I asked you if you wanted a link like ages ago. I sent that to you ages ago. 44 minutes ago, I said, I'm starting at 11. Want a link? I sent that at 10:27. You never responded. So you said you're going to make every effort to join. You weren't sure if you'd be able to before that. But I'll send you a link right now. I will send that out right now. That's not really on me. I'm not saying that's me. I don't think that's me. But I will take care of you, just because you're like a brother to me. Where are you? You're a brother I can't find anywhere in my list here. Oh, here it is. You send me this at 11. You send me a DM on X. All right, you got it now. Let's talk about LobsterGate while we wait for Jim to pop on in here. Whew, that's not going to work. That's better. This is our friend Scott Jennings.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steaks, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all for himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No.
Do
you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he
It's
can't
for
eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster
frequently.
He's like, no, that can't be. Or is it?
Brothers Defect has steak and lobster. How's it steak and lobster?
All right, damn near decent.
How's yours?
I'm ready for war.
We're going to war.
Oh
theater.
my God!
Troops who are going to war.
Oh my God!
Great meal. You know that.
They're getting lobster. You are so
You're
full
going
of
to get
it.
killed over this.
You are
You're
so
going to get killed
full of
over
it.
this. Internet, do something.
Internet, do something.
I might have to double it. I had to run it back.
He has spent 15.
So yeah, the internet was doing something. There's another clip of that. Retired Marine Joey Jones just eviscerated Democrats who claim about the steak and lobster for our troops. This is
10 in Afghanistan. I was working with two other Marine EOD techs, Brian Smith and Chindo Mesa. We had been out all day long working some IEDs. It was a difficult day. We had a few really close calls that day. When we got back, we sat down, and I've got this picture of us just sitting on a ledge at Patrol Base Karma, and there's a stack of MREs behind us. And I remember Mesa looking at me and saying, man, I hope I don't get that chicken tetrazzini or something like that. And then somebody comes around the corner like, hey guys, it's steak and lobster night. It's surf and turf. And now I've got another picture of the three of us eating steak in the room that we lived in later that night. What's funny is the look on our faces from the one picture to the other is about the same because we're in war. But after that day, for weeks, we talked about steak and lobster nights. The only one I've ever gotten overseas. It was in the middle of a really tough summer. You see these tweets about, Pete Hegseth has spent $15 million on steak and lobster. Are you serious? That is the only thing about home. That's the only thing that makes you feel special for the entire time you're there.
And that, of course.
So there you go. Why is this not? This didn't work. I want to share that link. I'm sharing it everywhere. It's happening. Give me one more. So to break that down, In case you're wondering what the LobsterGate thing is, this is Pete Hegseth's Pentagon faces backlash over a $7 million lobster spree. I think it was 15 they were saying, but yeah. A government watchdog report reveals Pentagon Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spent $6.9 million on lobster tails during a single month in late 2025. The expenditure was part of a record-breaking $93.4 million use it or lose it spree in September. They include ribeye steaks, king crab, and luxury furniture. Critics and lawmakers are slamming the optics of the spending, contrasting the surf and turf budget with the administration's public push for federal efficiency. But you see, the use it or lose it element here is a key element. They don't want to talk about the fact that the way our system works is to use it or lose it. The findings ignite a firestorm criticism over wasteful luxury purchases just as U.S. enters a costly conflict with Iran. According to a report by government watchdog Open the Books, in the final month of 2025 fiscal year, Department of Defense moved to exhaust its remaining budget to avoid. So they moved to the department to exhaust it to a funding cuts, a practice known as use it or lose it. Beyond the $6.9 million for lobster, the Pentagon spent $15.1 million on ribeye steaks, $2 million on Alaskan king crab, $140,000 on donuts, $124,000 on ice cream machines. High-end non-food items were also on the list. $98,000 Steinway and Sons grand piano, $225 million furniture featuring individual chairs costing nearly $1,900, $12,500 for fruit basket stands, and $5.3 million on Apple devices. Open Books called spending completely unacceptable. But what you have here is a situation where they know if we don't spend it, we're going to get a cut next year, which is a stupid way that our system works, but that is the reality as to how our system works. Someone else who might be able to better explain to us how our system works is this guy right here, Jim Sedalia.
How you doing, everybody? Sorry I'm late.
No worries at all. It's not on you.
It is, because I didn't see the text from you saying, do you want the link? I was sitting here waiting. I'm sitting there like this. I had my phone on silent, waiting, and I was like, oh, I guess maybe he changed his mind. I know you tried to call me, but I didn't want to call you back because I didn't want to bother you.
I was calling. I was like, hey, does he want to come or not? I know you had like personal stuff you're dealing with.
No, it's not. And I just going to tell you, I know I've been away for several days now. I don't know. It's just what happens. You get elderly parents who are infirm and need help. And
all you have to say is elderly parents. You need to say no more.
Yeah.
You don't say anymore. That's it. Elderly parents. All right. That's
and grandkids you need to take care of and other stuff. And it's just everything happening all at the same time where it's like,
it's elderly. All you got to say is elderly parents. That's it right there. You don't say anymore.
Oh, so, AK Law Cabin says, right. Technically, I'm 12 hours early.
Touche. All right.
So it's a standard practice, the whole lobster thing. Anytime there's going to be a big operation, chance of war, there's always, it's usually not always lobster steak like that. Like they did pizza for Iraq, like brought in pizzas for everybody.
Right. It makes sense. Like it's like, look, if we don't use our budget, they're going to slash our budget. And one day we might need that money. So we got to use it now. And that's the reality of the way it works in all elements of government. And that's just it. So it's hard for me to endorse it as like this is like a good thing, but it's not nearly the humiliating thing that the left is going to try to make it. That's Pete Hegseth understanding the system that he's operating in and saying, well, that's the system.
But I mean, this has gone on as far back as World War II.
Yeah. This is going on, since longer than you or I've been alive.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, they did, like before D-Day, they brought in all types of like fancy foods and steaks and ice cream and all this stuff to millions of troops.
Right. Spending spree happens in all federal branches. Normal happens every year. October is new fiscal year. So in the Army and Postal Service. Yep. October 1st is when we start a new one. That's why we always have shutdowns. That's what that whole thing is. That's what happens in October is because September 30th is the end of the fiscal year.
Did these same people complain when Obama flew in $250,000 worth of hot dogs from Chicago for his friends at a party at the White House?
We're
And
going,
cheese
are
pizza.
are we really going there? Are
I'm
we
just
really,
saying.
are we
These
really-
are, these are facts. This is not like
are
a
we really-
conspiracy.
are
I'm not saying it wasn't hot dogs and pizza. I mean, who doesn't spend $250,000 on hot dogs and pizza? I don't know.
Is this how tonight's going to go? Just tell me. I'm prepared. I'm prepared to go that way. I just want to know if this is how it's going.
Oh, I see you're casual tonight, so I figured I would be.
I'm very casual tonight.
You know, you look unshorn.
Trying to grow in the beard.
There you go. Good job. Way to go.
Trying to grow in the beard. So, like, you know, it's taking a little longer than I anticipated, but it's like if I actually trim this out, it'll start to look like this is actually a beard. So
I think you would look. And I hope I'm not overstepping, but I think you look really good. One of them, like thin, like.
I used to really have that.
You know, like where you have to go and have it you know, like have it taken. Well, I don't know if you could do
like
it
that,
like that, where it's got to be like, you know, manicured daily. Like
that
perfect.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't do it quite that way, but I used to always. I was looking at a video myself yesterday when I had when I was videoing me and Lady Logic, and I was seeing like how I had this thin thing. This is going back like 3 years or so. I had a very, very thin thing coming down, and then like a fleshier, meatier goatee section. So, yeah. But speaking of people who really understand how money works, or maybe doesn't understand how money works, did you see what Mayor Mamdani's new thing is?
Oh, I saw Mayor Mamdani with bringing you know, our friend Khalil Muhammad in to have a party.
Yeah, that was earlier in the week. This is him basically saying we've chased everyone away, so now it's time for us to raise taxes.
Oh yes. There's a lot of that going around in a lot of these states, raising of the taxes.
Totally. Sorry about that.
problem.
Totally makes a lot of sense there. Totally makes a lot of sense.
Amidst being in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world,
not for long.
we already see an exodus of working and middle-class New Yorkers. So I don't have a hesitation in asking those who make the most amount of money in the city or the most profits in the city to pay a little bit more so that everyone can actually stay in this city. It's also something not just about justice or...
So everyone has to stay in a city, including the illegals, because they got to have the money for the hotels for the illegals, because that's what he needs the money for.
Yeah, of course that's what it is.
The ability for working class people to live here. It is also actually about ensuring that corporations can continue to attract the top talent to this city.
I like how he's growing in. I like how he has the whole terrorist beard type of thing. He looks like he's ready to strap himself and go attack the towers.
Because in a city where childcare costs more than $20,000 a year, I've heard from corporate leaders about how difficult it is for them to attract individuals who would work at their companies but want to raise a family, because you could be
Funny that he brings that up, Joe, about childcare.
You will feel that $20,000 a year because of the fact that we have allowed for the absence of affordable childcare.
But it's funny I say he brought up childcare because he has a program for childcare for all the 5 boroughs, except for the one borough that votes Republican.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Yes. Free, it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, Staten Island is excluded from his free childcare.
Nice.
I don't think that's legal. I don't think you could. You know, what's your excuse going to be? They're too white. They're too Republican. I mean, what's your reason for excluding the one borough that votes Republican?
Oh, you sort of you're more able to get away with prejudice based on party affiliation than you are race. So
I don't think you can do it though when it comes to government funds paying for things. You have equal protection claims. It's not like this is different. This is a program you have to treat everybody the same. What would happen? Let's say this is basically Jim Crow 2.0, but it's reversed.
Reverse Crow.
Reverse Crow.
It's Midge Crow.
It's
Instead of Jim, it's the opposite of Jim. It's Midge Crow.
Yeah.
M-I-J Crow.
Work.
Midge work.
Midge work.
Hey. Midge work. It's Midge work. That's what we're seeing here. I think we just coined something there. Midge work. It's not Jim Crow. It's Midge work. Well, anyhow, so he's basically determined that he's going to chase everybody out. We've been chasing out like just by droves. We got to make sure everyone wants to get the hell out of this city. Other gay Gygax says, sorry. I mean to.
It's because, okay, I let you in on an inside joke because his name is Dan Gygax. And Gary Gygax is the creator of Dungeons and Dragons. So I used to tease him all the time about, are you related to Gary Gygax? And so he's like, no, I'm the other Gygax.
Oh, all right, nice. All right. The other Gygax says Pete Hegseth has been deployed before. He knows food is important for the troops, and keep them happy troops, make them feel like we actually, care about them. It's a pretty smart move. It's a pretty smart move in general. So, yeah, like I said, he's working within the environment that he is finding himself in. That's not a sign of incompetence. That's actually a sign of competence. That actually is a sign of competence. It's not.
I mean, and another secret that a lot of people maybe don't know who never served in the military. Military food is some of the most expensive food you can get. Like, it is completely tested, has to be approved by panels. Like, the Army's coffee used to be the most expensive coffee in the world.
Really?
Oh, they had a specific formula. It had to be this blend of stuff. It was like $30 a pound, or it was insane until finally someone said, hey, wait a minute, what are we doing here?
Why are they spending so much on coffee?
Because it has to be good coffee. People got to drink the coffee. Coffee's the lifeblood of the service, basically. You're drinking coffee to stay, if you got to stay awake, you're drinking coffee. You're not taking amphetamines, or you're drinking coffee. So it's got to be good.
I actually find, and I don't know how common this is, and I was just talking about this with my daughter is the same way. Actually, two of my daughters told me that they're the same way. That we are not affected at all by caffeine. Like, it doesn't do anything. I can amp myself on caffeine, and it's sort of like a good thing. Like, I don't end up being amped on caffeine, but it's also a bad thing in that if I need to have, I'm pulling an all-nighter, caffeine just doesn't do anything. So I actually have
you personally?
Me personally.
Because, there's drugs,
my daughters.
Drugs, things that affect people different ways. There's people that drink caffeine that puts them to sleep.
I have a doctor expert backstage here who's able to perhaps weigh in on this. He just popped in here. So maybe you can help weigh in on the whole caffeine thing. Sure. This is actually a friend of mine who he's a regular viewer of the show. That's him right there, Shy. So yeah, and I know that he works in the medical industry. I don't know if he's actually a doctor. I don't want to give him wrong proffers.
No, I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm not
nurse practitioner. That's like
he actually does work.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So you tell me.
You
tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a common or uncommon thing that caffeine does nothing?
So, as with any drug, definitionally caffeine is a drug. There's stimulants, there's non-stimulants, there's suppressants. There's different classifications within the drug system, what they'll do. So, take, for example, a medication called cyclobenzapine, which is also known as Flexeril. It's a muscle relaxer. Some patients will take that, like myself, and I'm over 240 pounds, and I'll be sleeping in 5 minutes. So, and then you'll have these little 120-pound people who take it, and they're totally fine. Take it 3 times a day as a muscle relaxer. Their back pain's gone. They're great. Same thing with caffeine. Most people take it. It's a stimulant, wakes them up. Some people take it, and it just doesn't affect their body for chemical reasons. It doesn't have that effect on them, and they just go to sleep, or it's just a drink that they take and has no effect.
I'm wondering if, similar to that, like people who are not impacted by caffeine, like if we're impervious to being tasered. Like if you taser me,
we could find out.
I just don't want to be the test
We definitely
subject.
could find out.
I don't want to be the test.
For science.
I'm like, no, look, I don't think it's going to do anything to me.
Think of the science. What would Fauci say?
My theory is that I wouldn't feel it if I got tasered. That's my theory, but I'm definitely not interested in being a test subject.
As someone who's been tasered, I could tell you, you would feel it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those people who's blessed in being impervious to caffeine and tasering. So,
because caffeine you're impervious to because of the chemical makeup of your body. Tasering's an electrical current. It's gonna knock you on your ass.
That's another. Yeah, that's a competing theory you're offering there. But we don't
just
know.
stick a fork in a
I
socket
think we
and
should
see what
just
happens.
test it. I think I'm gonna come over to your house, Joe, and just test it right now.
I think we'll hold off on that. Well, at least.
Do you have a TENS unit? We could try with a TENS unit. That's real safe.
That's
It won't
true.
be as
We
bad.
can try with the TENS unit. That would work.
What's that? That's one of those things that goes.
No, it's just for like those mild electric shocks for like your back, but you can crank it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's used for back pain mainly and stuff like muscle spasms.
It's kind of the same thing like Bruce Lee was using instead of working out, and then a lot of people think that's what caused his demise. Well,
speaking of people who are not necessarily impervious, you heard about this the ODU shooter? It was a shooting in Old Dominion University today, which
like normal, they knew who he was, and he was on the radar. They knew
he was on. They're always on the radar. Yeah, he basically was trying to attack ROTC members in ODU, and he ended up killing Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw, rest his soul. And the interesting thing is that the shooter was not impervious to the defense that was put up by Lieutenant Colonel Shaw's peers who were on the scene.
Is it from what I'm reading, they did it with their bare hands?
Well,
there were students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know.
Oh, snap! Rendered him no longer alive.
Yeah, they rendered him no longer alive without the aid of a gun or a weapon.
That's how I like my terrorists.
Which means
rendered no longer alive.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit longer clip here where she confirms that. I thought you were going to appreciate that.
How is he deceased?
How is he deceased?
There were students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
So he was not shot.
He was not shot.
No, he wasn't shot.
He shot 3 people.
Correct. We have information that he shot 3 people.
The one that went to Virginia.
Yeah, so he shot 3 people, but he wasn't shot to death. No, they actually, I don't know if they snapped his neck. I don't know if they pummeled him to death, but
is there any chance there was a wood chipper in the room?
You're saying he was stabbed? I don't know if he. I don't know. You would think she would have said that. They said the student had. That's what people are saying. The student had a knife. I like picturing with the bare hands. Don't ruin that image for me.
I guess that ruins the old saying, "Don't bring a knife to a gunfight."
Yeah. Well, I guess 3-on-1. I guess that they were able to take him down, but it was a pocket knife. Everyone's saying it was a knife.
Maybe they pulled John Wick and they did it with a pencil.
I could kill you with this pencil. I was thinking Liam Neeson, I was literally picturing someone like Liam Neeson just going.
You don't remember that from John Wick? He killed 3 guys with a pencil. With a pencil.
Yeah. You want to know something else sick about this guy Jala, the one who committed this attack? Jala, whatever. Yeah. So he is a naturalized American citizen. And the way he got here, Laura Loomer claims, is that he's the sister of ISIS terrorists who carried out an Islamic terrorist attack at Old Dominion University, is a Virginia-based immigration lawyer and member of American Immigration Lawyers Association, which is funded by George Soros's Open Society Foundations. In a grotesque failure of justice, Mohammed Baylor Jallo, naturalized U.S. citizen, former Army National Guard member who was arrested in 2016, convicted in 2017 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS, walked free from federal prison in December 2024 after serving just under 8 years and 11-year sentence. Today, on March 12, 2026, this Islamic terrorist stormed Old Dominion University's Constant Holly Constant Hall in Norfolk, Virginia, shouting Allahu Akbar as he gunned down a retired Army officer instructor and wounded 2 others in what the FBI say is an act of Islamic terrorism. Mohammed Yalla was subdued by OTC cadets and found dead at the scene. As a citizen, Yalla could not be deported back to Sierra Leone, his country of origin post-conviction. Why?
He could be denaturalized. Wouldn't that be grounds for denaturalization? He was a terrorist?
And I'm not even sure if he was in the middle of going through his whole process, naturalization process. I don't understand anything about this. But that begs the searing question: how did our immigration system ever grant citizenship to someone from Sierra Leone who later plotted ISIS-backed attacks on U.S. soil, including procuring weapons for a domestic strike? I have exclusively discovered that Yala's sister, Fatmatu Yalo, is an immigration attorney and managing partner at Yalo LLC, a Virginia immigration law firm that serves as a liaison in the D.C. chapter of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, an organization whose advocacy arm, the American Immigration Council, has pocketed substantial grants from the Ford Foundation.
Oh, I knew I hated the Fords for some reason.
The Bloomberg Family Foundation and George Soros' Open Society Foundation to push pro-immigration and open border policies. In 2017, Fatmatu Yalo was listed as counsel for her brother when he was convicted for supporting ISIS. There's screenshots below. Should I see? This is her.
And this is like the 4th guy from Sierra Leone this week that's done some bad shit stuff. Let's say.
Here she's listed as counsel for the defendant, and the group, and this is where they're establishing the group was receiving substantial funding from left organizations, Ford Foundation, Bloomberg Family Foundation, Open Society Foundation. So this tragedy is further evidence of broken immigration system that given entry and protection to Islamic terrorists, leaving Americans to pay the bloody price for lax enforcement and early release of known terrorists. When will we stop coddling threats in the name of reform and start protecting our own people from the threat of Islam? There is a growing cry to ban Muslims. That's getting louder and louder. Why is Fatmatu Yalo, the immigrant lawyer's sister who advocated for ISIS terrorist supporting brother, allowed to live in the U.S. and practice law? She should be denaturalized and deported back to Africa. She should also be interrogated by the FBI. See, this I would not agree with just point blank. Because, look, I don't think you should be going after her lawyers. I know that that's what they did to the right. I understand that, but that doesn't just vengeance and eye for an eye is not a logical approach. So tell me that because she's an immigrant or that she's supported by these different agencies, I don't think that's a basis to denaturalize her.
Well, it would have to be something. You'd have to find out she was doing something in the background, conspiring to violate immigration law in some way. Then you could denaturalize her.
Right. So if she broke the law,
right, you can't just say, "Oh, your brother did this. We're going to denaturalize you." I don't think that's not the type of country I want to live in.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. This does raise another interesting question, which is the notion of denaturalizing people who get convicted of crimes. Like someone who comes in here and commits various acts that seem like an attempt to subvert America, there should be a basis to denaturalize them on that alone.
They used to do that all the time with people in the mob, didn't they?
I'm simply saying,
they used
you never hear it
all the
happening.
time. No, they used to do it all the time. That's what I'm saying. In the 50s and 60s and 70s, when a mobster that came over from Italy and they got caught up in something, they were naturalized citizens. They'd be like, "Nope, you're not a citizen anymore. Get out."
Didn't they threaten that to Dinesh D'Souza, and that's how they got him to plead guilty?
I believe they did.
Yeah, they told him, "We're going to deport you back to India," and he was a naturalized citizen and married to an American.
Wow.
That's why he pled guilty in that case. So they do denaturalize people.
Yeah. Well, I feel as if we don't
threaten to.
I feel as if we don't wield it nearly enough. This should be something that happens all the time. Did she have advanced knowledge about this Islamic terror attack? I don't know. Deport the entire Muslim immigrant family could very well be a family terrorist cell. I think it's a little premature to say that. That's a sort of clickbait type of comment that people can be like, "Yeah, get rid of them all," but that's very easy to throw out there. I'm I've never been prone to saying anything clickbait worthy, which is probably why it's so hard to find me. But I think that an investigation is appropriate. That I would think is appropriate, especially given she has a familial relationship with someone she represented. I do think that, some questions should be asked. That I think would be appropriate. Jay Schwalbeck saying, I got coin for you. And in locals, he says, Joe. The Romans would regularly reward their troops with prostitutes to keep their spirits up and their minds focused. When Pete authorizes this perk, I will re-enlist. God bless America. I don't know that that's going to be coming anytime soon. So, it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely, but you never know. Detroiter here. My grandkids' kids were on lockdown all afternoon. Fortunately, the Jewish schools and large synagogues here have armed security. We have armed security here too. In our
you have
community.
to now.
Yeah,
no choice. You have to.
Yeah, we have armed security also because it's just. You have to be. It's crazy not to. So it's pretty sick that that's the world we live in. But we've had armed security since October 7th. Maybe even before that. Shai, is it earlier than that? He lives in my
much
town.
Earlier. No, I've been involved in security in the synagogues here in our town since probably 2015, 16.
Yeah.
So at least probably 10 years now we've been going on having armed security.
Oh, maybe I think there was an incident that started. I remember thinking like, oh, because of this incident, it might have been the Tree of Life thing. Attack in Pittsburgh. That might have been that.
Accelerated it. My dad's synagogue was attacked on the last day of Passover in 2012.
His dad, just to clarify here, his dad is a pretty significant rabbi in town. So
yeah, that was the last day of Passover in 2012. We had some kids from Patterson came by, threw some firecrackers at the synagogue. They got arrested and charged in that incident.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when my dad's synagogue started getting security, was after that incident. I think most synagogues in town started after the Tree of Life, and I guess that was 2018.
Yeah, I don't remember having security going back a decade, but yeah, I think it was the Tree of Life incident. That's when Adas put up their little cement block things.
Yeah.
To stop people from being able to drive up to the door and stuff. So anyhow, so yeah, I'm sure, but he's saying that the schools were on lockdown all afternoon because of what happened Temple Israel over there. I want to get into, before we move on to that, here's when we're talking about the whole Muslim situation, and I found this little clip that I wanted to share with y'all too.
Here's what jihadis have done in the U.S. in the last week. One shoots up a bar in Austin, Texas, kills 2, shoots 14. Another one lights a Molotov cocktail and throws it at Christians in New York City. Another one throws a nail bomb or shrapnel IED at Christians in New York City. Another one tries to bomb a Southwest flight going from Nashville to Fort Lauderdale. Another one throws another IED shouting Allahu Akbar at a protest near Gracie Mansion in New York City. Another one makes a bomb threat and forces a plane to land in Atlanta. Another one drops a bomb threat at Kansas City Airport. And the DHS is reporting that jihadi threats against churches across the US right now are completely exploding. Radical Islam, for some reason, is the one religion that the left will fight for till their dying breath for whatever reason. And Christianity is somehow always the problem. Funny how that works. Here's what jihadis...
So, yeah, that was a nice little wrap up there.
I think a couple of them were the same thing, though. Like she repeated it, because the one about the flight getting diverted from Nashville to... I'm just saying, I was following the news. The flight that got diverted from Nashville to Fort Lauderdale, or Palm Beach, was it Fort Lauderdale? That's the one that landed in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And then the nail bomb at Gracie Mansion was also the one at the Christian protester. Yeah, I didn't like how CNN and all these people were trying to claim like somehow this was a bombing attack against Islam on Mandami.
Yeah, actually, Abby Phillips issued an apology for that. at the start of her show.
Anna Navarro was talking all types of crazy stuff.
I think people recognize that the view is, warped view. So I don't think that anyone takes that seriously. But speaking of things that shouldn't be taken seriously, the attack on Temple Israel that Carlson Dimension is referencing here, the one that happened in Michigan, the if you want to know why that happened, according to MS Now, obviously the motivation, the reason for the fault and all the blame lies with Donald Trump.
There was a moment, and Mark, you remember this, I'm sure, earlier in the year when Donald Trump was threatening to revoke funding to the JTTF over sanctuary cities or something like that. And there was quite a bit of an uproar because what are you doing putting this city, which has been the target of terror attacks in the past, remains one of the biggest targets in the world and has been kept safe because of the JTTF, because of the coordination between the federal government and local law enforcement here. So
they're admitting it's terrorism.
Because
if they're saying the Joint Terrorism Task Force was supposed to handle this, they're admitting that this was terrorism.
Sort of, yeah. Indirectly. Yeah.
Kind of a catch-22 there.
Questions about whether this administration has its eyes on keeping the American public safe.
Yeah, and I think if you think about, the nature of focus is that it can only be in one place. That's definitionally how focus works.
No, this is why you have different departments. That's pretty stupid.
If you look at the Department of Homeland Security,
he does have trouble chewing gum and walking at the same time.
He thinks that was like such an insightful comment he made when it's actually, no, that's an inaccurate statement when you're talking about the U.S. government. The whole point to the U.S. government is they're supposed to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, not just have focus, laser focus on this. And that's what he's basically alleging that the U.S. government is, which is a retarded point.
We have enough focus for the trans and the Muslims.
Yeah.
Entity. And to a certain extent, the Department of Justice, right? Department of Homeland Security, which is created in the aftermath of 9/11, quite famously, as a response to what was perceived as the failures that led to 9/11. There is no way that anyone plausibly could say that it has a focus on stopping terrorist attacks. Its focus is on immigration and mass deportation. That's not even a controversial statement.
Well, they're trying to link that with stopping terrorism.
Yes, but descriptively, it is the case that what that agency has turned itself to do is to do that. And yesterday, Donald Trump was asked about the possibility of Iranian sleeper cells in the U.S. Now, I don't know how plausible that is, but he was asked.
It's not like we know that 800 came across the border under Biden and they're still looking for them.
Doesn't sound plausible to me. Is that a number that you know of? Like, how do you know 800?
Because it was reported 800, like 821.
I was like, I don't know if it's 100,000.
No, 800. They know for a fact 821 people who were members of the IRGC came across the border. They just arrested one. They're still looking for the rest of them. They can't find them.
That's the ones, as Shai points out, that's the ones we know about. So it's like not everyone who's part of a sleeper cell necessarily was in the IRGC.
Well,
right?
no, but that's it's kind of a dead ringer. Like, oh, you guys.
Okay, there's at least 821, and potentially a great deal more.
Well, they've recruited people while they're here.
You also don't have to be from Iran to be part of a sleeper cell, right?
No.
And his response was, "Yeah, we know where they are." And I thought to myself,
Biden let them in, but we know where they are. That was my question. If you know where they are,
wait a second. You're deporting landscapers and kids with Spider-Man backpacks?
He's not deporting kids with Spider-Man backpacks. Okay, you're fake news. I can't listen to you, Chris Hayes. Stupid. I can't handle.
They don't want anyone deported. They fought for an MS-13 guy to come back to the country. A guy with MS-13 on his knuckles. And it might not say MS-13, but it's a marijuana leaf, and then it's the symbols to say it. So that way they can have it, but then you can't. It's the thing. It's like symbols, like hieroglyphics.
Yeah. What's the name of that guy? Lindsay.
James Lindsay?
Yeah, James Lindsay. That's what I was looking. That's the name I was looking for. He actually put out a post yesterday that I think it's constructive. How's it go by? He goes by
Conceptual James.
Conceptual James. Yeah, there he is.
I think.
Yeah, so he put out a post. That's not the right one. Conceptual. He put out a post which really explained what we were just seeing there from like a long post that I think is worth going through, where he was talking about what that dude over there was just doing. He was talking about, he posts so much that was so hard to find.
I didn't hear any of them complaining about the Democrats not funding DHS at all.
Yeah, of course. They never talk about that. No. But yeah, Conceptual James, the Dan Bongino actually read through some of what he had written in this very long post where he's explaining how it is that these organizations run. I can't, or how the leftist news operates. Trying to find it, and I meant to put it aside when I saw the thing. I'm just going to watch Dan Bongino clip because he doesn't watch all of it, which is frustrating. I really did want to see the entire post. He doesn't read through the entire post. But
is it on X or is it on?
Yeah, it is on X. Here's Dan Bongino talking about it, which really breaks down what Chris Evans was doing there. Not Chris, is it Chris Evans, that guy? Chris, whatever.
Then what has two thumbs? This guy, this cat right here. But the liberal media
it's not
about this. He's accurate. Folks, I can't read the whole thing, but this is a tweet you really need to see. James Lindsay put this out yesterday, and I've warned you about this. He's at Conceptual James on X. I'm not going to read the whole thing. However, keep this up if you could, Guy, with me in the little box for a minute. I'll try not to, people like visuals to jump around a little bit. However, this is important. What James is addressing here is current thingism. Folks, the left is the party of the current thing. You know the current thing? Men's penises in the women's room, abortion after birth, otherwise known as murder. Like, they just fall for the current thing all the time. Remember current thingism, like NPCs? Unfortunately, the current thing now.
All right, he's taking too long doing this. I'm going to do this a little faster because I found the post with my silent keyboard that none of you even knew I was clacking away on. So this is the actual post. I want to go through it with you. Addressing Zoomer slop, a real Gen Z quote, of all my, came from a Gen Z person, said, of all my friends, Israel is the very first thing that they want to learn about and understand because it does go back to America first. I, in fact, have not talked to one Gen Z conservative that has been pro-Israel. Everybody I've talked to is questioning Israel. Listen, kids, doesn't that seem really effing weird to you? The main thing that your whole cohort cares about is another country, one that is allied with us and kicking ass in the most Top Gun way you can imagine. Doesn't it seem weird that everyone in your generation is focused on another country that isn't even attacking us? It should seem weird because it is weird. The reason it's happening is not because Israel is relevant to all of your lives. The reason it's happening is because you're being propagandized. Let me repeat the quote in words that hit your big brothers and sisters right in the a-hole 10 years ago. Quote, of all my friends, privilege is the very first thing that they want to learn about and understand because it does not go back to social justice. I, in fact, have not talked to one millennial liberal that doesn't question our privilege. Everybody I've talked to is questioning privilege, white privilege, male privilege, straight privilege. Do you think that was normal? No, it wasn't normal either. Every Gen X or older person can tell you that young people in the generations have many varied and diverse interests. There was no top of mind for everyone in a generation, but the millennials got it with privilege and social justice, and you're getting with Israel and America first. Kids, listen to me. This is not normal. This is not natural. This is not the result. This is the result of dedicated propaganda campaigns. You're being propagandized. The method of propaganda being used is primarily something called reflexivity, which is a method developed by George Soros to create mass movements of belief around deliberate lies that he called fertile fallacies. And this is what made me think of it, was because we just heard one of these fertile fallacies right there. He called them fertile fallacies because they are lies, fallacies, errors, differences between what's believed and what's really true that can take off. They're fertile in the population. They're lies with legs.
Yeah,
so
like hands up, don't shoot,
Right. So they'll take a small little thing, or, they'll basically try and take something that has a tiny little bit of legs and just keep repeating it over and over. Like Trump is in the Epstein files. So that means they'll say Trump is, a pedo because he's all over the Epstein files. So that's what they'll do. They'll basically say, since it's true that he's all over the Epstein files, now it's like, it should be accepted as fact that he had some sort of unnatural predilection towards children. That's a lie with legs. The legs are that he's all over the true part of it is that he's in the files a lot. the lie of it is that the reason he's in the files is because Epstein couldn't stand him and resented him. So that's a major reason. I mean, yes, he had been friends with him earlier, but a major part of his role in those files, part of the reason he's mentioned so much is because of the fact that he came up so frequently in ways that were antithesis of Jeffrey Epstein's interests. So that's what I'm talking about as far as a photo.
I don't think any of the emails or any of the stuff is actually Trump talking to Epstein. It's all Epstein talking about Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the method of reflexivity is, we hear some scratching there, Shai. The method of reflexivity is to get everyone believing the same erroneous stuff in an increasing way at the same time. This is accomplished through local media saturation. Everyone's talking about the same thing in the same way in the same time, and eventually so are your friends. Then the ideas reflect all around you, creating a sense of social consensus and widespread belief. Reflexive campaigns are everywhere now. On the left, we call them the current thing. We have rafts of memes of NPCs all changing their tune or saying the same thing or being reprogrammed or being hypnotized into the newest current thing, which changes when the media does. That's you. Now, you're being Soros. The reason everyone in your generation is suddenly talking about Israel is because propagandists in your midst have made Israel your current thing. It's a reflexive campaign. And you aren't just a victim, but are playing your part. The framing for the reflexive campaign is America first. The propagandists are exploiting your love of country and frustration with bad actors in our government and their global partners, which are increasingly being exposed, to get you attached to a bunch of fertile fallacies about Israel, all of which play upon your fears, anxieties, frustrations, and love for your beautiful country. Here are some. Israel is not really our greatest ally. It isn't even an ally. We can't afford things at home because Israel gets aid money. This is Israel's war, and I'm not dying in Israel's war. Israel attacked the USS Liberty and isn't our friend. Jeffrey Epstein was working with Israel. Israel is too weak to exist on its own, so manipulates America into supporting it. Israel is a settler colonialist project that is doing genocide of the indigenous Palestinians. Oops, my bad. That's the one they're telling your friends on the left. Israel is warmongering vassal state with the U.S. protectorate status that is seeking to become a regional power by starting random wars that drags the U.S. into and doing genocide. Now, none of those or dozens more is accurate. They're all fallacies designed to take off in social and emotional environments you find yourselves in, driven by media and political propagandists who have their own agendas but need your help, just like the NPCs on the left. The reason you're so obsessed, and yes, that's obsession with Israel, is because you're being targeted by reflexive propaganda campaigns designed to make you all fixate on this object that can be alleged to cause most of your problems. In fact, it causes few, if any, of your problems, and actually solving many problems you're blessed enough not even to know that you have. Friends, you're being propagandized, being led to focus and fix on things because it serves dark interests that are not your own. The same Soros techniques that work on the left are being used on you, and you're helping them work. How do you stop them? 1, don't listen to propagandists. That's really important. 2, seek out opposite sides of what being told. 3, use critical thinking. 4, ask yourself if you're being asked to think about issues or asked to feel about issues. And this is a big thing. Most of what they do is basically try and make you feel a certain way. And then you start with a conclusion. And when you start with that conclusion, that this is what it is, you can always find a justification to root back to that conclusion that you were looking for. So if they make you feel a certain way and they're saying, oh, the reason you're feeling this way is because of X, psychologically, it's very easy to try and find some way of tracing back and saying that this lays back to this thing that I've been propagandized to basically think is my boogeyman. 5, be skeptical of something that appears suddenly in the news or on platforms that everyone is repeating all the time at once. That's how Soros reflexivity works. And 6, understand, just like how it was true with CNN and other trusted news sources, that trusted sources can be bought, at which point they're not trustworthy anymore and are using your trust to manipulate you. I don't know how much, this is, okay, it's a little bit more. The biggest anti-America operation that's happening right now is the sudden skeptical to hostile fixation on Israel. Notice that it's only been a thing since October 7, 2023. Exactly the same time the parallel propaganda wave began on the left. What you're participating in is the side of the same campaign tailored to your values, your anxieties, and your frustrations. It's no different. This campaign is rapidly turning people against not just Israel and often Jews, but against MAGA, Trump, the United States, and its role in the world, and the Republican Party. Who benefits from that? Not you, not us. Isn't it weird to you that so many people suddenly believe exactly the opposite of what they believed in 2022? Isn't it weird too that everyone considers this such a big issue? It should be weird because it is. That's the signature of a propaganda campaign, and you are its primary target. It's just brilliantly written.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Soros started doing this and talked openly about it in markets, to create markets, to cause things to happen in markets so that he could profit and take advantage. And I believe he talked openly about it.
Interesting.
Using that, and then he just moved it from manipulating, because he's been widely accused around the world of manipulating markets.
Yeah.
Causing dollar countries' money to be devalued, different using these techniques. And now he's doing it in politics. Or with society in general.
I had another clip here I wanted to share with you related to this. I lose it so quickly. I'm not used to my.
Did you see that video I sent you about the USB noise?
Yeah, I did.
I think you might want to look into that.
Oh, well, what I found is it definitely was my mouse, because I changed.
Was it your mouse? Okay. Because I thought I've heard it a few times while you were streaming.
No, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it tonight.
Nothing tonight.
It must just be like ingrained in my memory.
It's just ingrained. You see my face and you hear that noise. Yeah. Also, I noticed I was noticing a parallel that my mouse would get stuck around when I would hear that noise. So I was like, I think that's what's actually happening here. So yeah, this is I wanted to share with you this. You talk about Tucker Carlson and his fixation, which his fixation is kind of insane.
His fixation kind of ties directly into the money he's getting from Qatar, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to hear Tucker Carlson. This is a different Tucker Carlson, and just ask yourself who he's. If you just hear him talking, ask yourself who he's describing here. In fact, I'm not even going to play his face. Just ask yourself who he's describing here.
I mean, this is part of the sad thing about Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. And just
he mentions the name Pat Buchanan. He was talking about Pat Buchanan here.
Pat does raise issues that I think are important. I mean, I think that the sovereignty of the American military, et cetera. I mean, these are not just crank issues. But unfortunately, Pat Buchanan raises them in a way that I think is discredited. And when attacked, he can always fall back on the line, well, the tiny cabal that controls American politics doesn't like me because I speak truth to power. This is actually, incidentally, almost verbatim what he said the other day.
Exactly what we hear today. Like, oh, yeah, you're just saying I'm anti-Semitic because I'm like, because, it's, or the way they always start off is, I can't say out loud what the problem is. They'll say it over and over again. Like, but I'm going to be brave and I'm going to say it. It's like, no one's stopping you from saying anything bad about Israel or Jews. But like, they make it as like, oh my gosh, I'm shattering the world by bravely going out there and referencing Israel or the Jews.
That I offend the plutocracy, that I'm a wanted man by the inside the Beltway people, and in every sense cast himself as a victim who is sort of a Karen Silkwood of politics, someone who's so truthful that he's being hunted down by the conspiracy that runs Washington. I mean, it's all a bit much. Maybe Pat Buchanan just says things that are kind of kooky, and that's why he's being criticized.
This is Tucker Carlson. Maybe they say things that are kind of kooky.
It's perfectly valid to question America's relationship with Israel. Israel has a lobby. It's perfectly fair, as far as I'm concerned, to beat up on Israel's lobby.
100%.
But I don't think that's the reason that Buchanan is being labeled an anti-Semite. It's this kind of, as I've said, this relentless bringing up topics related to Judaism. I mean, famously, Pat, always beats up on Goldman Sachs, but never Morgan Stanley. I mean, it's really hard to. There is no point at which Pat Buchanan has held a press conference and said, I really don't like the Jews. I think they're a sinister force in America. But I think, and it took me years to come to this position. I mean, I'm not throwing the term anti-Semite around. But you reach a point when you say, well, gee, here's a guy who has gone out of his way to defend Demjanjuk and other accused Nazi war criminals, who's constantly attacked Israel, who's attacked American Jews for supporting Israel unduly, who's implied that American Jews push America into wars in which non-Jews die. There really is, and again, I'm not hysterical on this.
He really could be describing himself now.
Subject, but I do believe that there is a pattern with Pat Buchanan of.
I think he basically admitted while he was saying this that he held all these same beliefs. He just doesn't like the way Pat Buchanan talks about it.
I don't think so. I think he changed. I think he really changed. I defended Tucker for a long time. The first time I actually labeled an anti-Semite for years. He's been like a year and a half now. He's been going after Israel. The first time I labeled him an anti-Semite was this week, when he went after Chabad in the way that he did, which was so reckless, irresponsible, and dangerous, and knowingly being dangerous to an entity that has zero interest in politics or anything other than helping Jews find God. That's all they care about, and he went after them and put a bullseye on them, and that's why I came very strongly out against Tucker Carlson. That's why I want you to watch this. That's the only reason I sort of wove this into the topic tonight, because this guy crossed a line when he basically started going after Chabad. I'm not Chabad. I have very little association with Chabad, but I'll tell you right now, they are everywhere in the world in ways that no other Jewish entity can claim, and they're purposefully everywhere in the world because they want to be visible so they can help find other Jews who are irreligious and bring them back to the faith. And they're not trying to proselytize Christians, Muslims, or anyone else. All they're interested in finding is Jews who they can help make more religious. And they find a great deal of success in the state of Israel and with irreligious Jews who are living in the state of Israel, including the IDF. And that's why there are so many members of the IDF now who are wearing Lubavitch or Chabad patches. And this guy put a bullseye on every Chabad person, people across the globe, in South America, in Asia, anywhere in America, all over the world, that anywhere there's a psycho who hears and follows Tucker Carlson thinks Chabad is controlling America and dragging us into wars because of this jackass who knows better. He knows it's a fiction. But they're always the ones. Whenever you hear about some rando Jewish place that gets shot up, it's always Chabad because they're the only Jews there. There are no other Jews in Bondi Beach. It's Chabad. There's no Jews in La Jolla, California. Orthodox Jews tend to congregate. We have to congregate in groups for prayer reasons and to have kosher food and to basically have access to things that we need for our day-to-day life. We tend to congregate. And that's why if you see an Orthodox Jew in a place that seems very foreign for an Orthodox Jew to be there, it's almost always a Chabad person. And he's basically saying they're the ones who are trying to control America. It's a sickening schmuck. And this is him calling himself a freaking anti-Semite.
Needling the Jews. Is that anti-Semitic? Yeah. I mean, after a while, you conclude it is, in some sense, anti-Semitic. I mean, Pat Buchanan obviously has a lot of personal and affectionate relationships with people who are Jewish. So on a personal level, perhaps he's not. But on a different, maybe thematic level, I think he probably is. I think that people should be allowed to have differing views on immigration. I think people should be allowed to point out the fact that there is an Israeli lobby, and yes, it's powerful, and debate the merits of that, I guess. I don't think there's, strictly speaking, anything wrong with that. But again, I think Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence, because he gives people who watch him carefully the sense that he has another agenda that has to do with personal dislike, and that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people, should be having, because I think they're ludicrous. I mean, this.
So there you go. That's the reason I shared that out, because he drew my ire this week. I did promise I was going to share with you breaking news about Fani Willis. So to do that properly, I think it's time we transition over to that. But first, let me just catch a couple of these in here. Actually, just one, which is New York's green light law prevents local LEOs work with ICE, even illegals who can be terrorists. Sounds hypocritical. It's pretty funny. Yeah, they're complaining that they're not working with the federal government because of Trump. What about all these sanctuary cities which say we're not working with the federal government? Right? I mean, what about them? You don't hear them complain about that.
I don't know how this is. I don't see how this country stays together if there is not some change to the way we have local and state officials basically flaunting federal law and openly in rebellion. There's open rebellion going on.
Yep.
This is, I don't know. Is this what it was like in 1860? You know, I don't know. It seems like this is pretty bad.
I don't know how this gets fixed. I don't see.
I know how the
fixed.
left wants it to be fixed. They want to win and lock us all up.
I don't see a fix that comes without far greater violence. I don't see a fix because there's such entrenchment, and people think, oh, when Trump's gone, it's gonna be gone. It's gonna be over. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's going to be every bit. It'll be ratcheted up even higher. Whoever replaces Trump is going to be labeled worse than Trump. I can promise you that. Whether it's Vance or someone else, they can be labeled worse than Trump.
Trump's a good boogeyman because he's loud and obnoxious and is Trump, so he's easy to go after.
Mm-hmm.
But 100%, I do think it will. I think the next person might be, but I think as the youngin in the room here, I don't know if I'm Gen X, Millennial, I don't know where I fit in this. The realm of all those things, but I think there is more and more young people who are realizing that the way we're going is not working, and as people in my generation ascend into leadership, I think less and less of them are going to follow the AOC path and more are going to follow the Clinton path, the middle of the road path, the Newt Gingrich path, where there'll be reconciliation between the two sides. So it might get a little worse over the next 4 to 8 years. But I think after that, as the people in my generation take over leadership, I think there will be reconciliation as we realize that the way we're currently going doesn't work.
Well, that's an optimistic view. I like it. I like it. I like it. It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. But we've been on this trajectory for 18 years. So
correct, because that was the previous generation ascending into leadership. I'm saying the generation after that ascends into leadership is going to have a different view.
Could be. I don't know. Let's talk about
on the poly market.
No, you better have really long futures in the poly market. Really long. Like you're looking 2040.
Yeah.
All right. Look, it could be. Who knows? I'm not a prophet. All right. So in order to understand the situation with Fani Willis, you need to understand certain developments. Most of you are aware of the fact that Fani Willis is a crazy woman who happens to be an attorney. I know you don't like sin. I get it, Felzu. Much better than yesterday. Having told you that's great. Okay. Well, there you go. I appreciate the comment to them. So the most of you are aware of Fani Willis. She was the Fulton County. Oh, I missed one thing from Zelny. He said something to make fun of the FBI about this. I'll come back to that later. Let's do Fani Willis first. I've held Fani in abeyance for long enough for this show. Okay. So most of you are aware of the fact Fani Willis is district attorney from Fulton County who went after Donald Trump and tried getting him for what happened in the 2020 election with respect to the state of Georgia and all sorts of charges raised against him. And there were 19 co-defendants and some of them pled out. And then ultimately that case went up in smoke when her special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, turned out to be having a relationship with her that was never disclosed and all sorts of questions about the impropriety. And there was what Judge Scott McAfee referred to as an odor of mendacity, which is, those of you who are unfamiliar with the term mendacity, it means fiction, non-truth in what she was saying with respect to some of the monies that she had and expenditures, and he had his block billing in most retarded legal, most unorthodox ways for an attorney to bill. We'll just pull it that way. When he's charging for 16-hour days and blocks of time, and he doesn't even justify what he's spending his time doing. Any attorney who's billing out any client and is hoping to actually get paid is going to have a lot more detail than just 3 words explaining what they spent 12 hours doing. But that's what he did, and the case ended up being taken away. First, what the initial order from Judge Scott McAfee is that they can't both be here, only one could be here, which seemed like a strange order. And then when it went up to the appellate court, they said no, they both got to go, and they both were kicked. The case ended up going to the special prosecutor's office and was ultimately dismissed against Donald Trump and everyone else. Well, so all that stuff, I assume, is stuff that anyone who isn't living under a rock is aware of. But I had to make sure I was covering those of you who are rock dwellers. You may be less aware of the fact that after this, Georgia passed a law in March of 2025. And this law, which is called
Get your fanny out my face.
SB 244, said that, and this was really a law, frankly. It was a reaction to what happened with Fani Willis and her being removed. And they amended their laws to basically authorize a defendant whose case is removed due to misconduct from prosecutorial attorney misconduct, that they can recover their legal fees. So what they basically said, and this is a copy of SB, is not, we're not going to go through the bill summary. It says that this is an act to amend Title 17 and 28 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to criminal procedure in General Assembly, respectively, so as to enact provisions relating to certain criminal prosecutions to provide the award of reasonable attorney fees and costs in criminal case to the defendant upon the disqualification of the prosecuting attorney for misconduct in connection with the case and the subsequent dismissal of the case by the court or a subsequent prosecutor. So that's what this bill ended up being signed into law by Governor Kemp, which means that this ended up being something that that enabled Trump to go after recovering his attorney's fees. His attorney in that case was a brilliant attorney, a really smart attorney named Steve Sadow, S-A-D-O-W. I personally was very impressed with him in the hearing that Scott McAfee held to determine whether or not the case would proceed, which became an infamous hearing when Fani Willis stormed on in there and ended up being called up to the stand.
With her dress on backwards?
With her dress on backwards. That's correct. Yes.
See, I always thought it would have been cool if his name was Sadow and he was related to Max von Sydow.
Well, anyhow, sure enough, Trump and his co-defendants decided that they're going to try and use this law, SB 244, to recover their attorney's fees. And their attorney's fees ended up being like $16.8 million, saying that they want to get that back because that's what attorney's fees were. Listen to, I'm not sure if electrician and catch slave for 1860s. Oh, okay. Well, anyhow, when they brought this application, they sued the state of Georgia trying to get their money back. So two different entities decided they wanted to get in on the case. The two entities were Fulton County, which is one entity of Fulton County, and then you have a different entity, which is a subdivision of that, Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Specifically, that's Fani Willis. She's the district attorney for Fulton County. So you have the county of Fulton, and then you have the Fulton County District Attorney's Office that both wanted in on this case. So they said, hey, bring us on into this case. We need to be here. It's very important that we are able to participate. Well, this week, Judge McAfee said to Fulton County, you can come in, but Fulton County District Attorney's Office, no. You've been banned from this case, and we're not letting you in here to defend from this, to defend the civil claim that's been brought here to try and say that you shouldn't be liable for it, or that the state shouldn't be liable. The state of Georgia. It's not your money. It's the state of Georgia, which is being named as defendant. So they say we're not going to let you. We're not going to let you do that. And this is an order on defense motion to dismiss and disqualify the Fulton County District Attorney. On January 8, 2024, defendant Roman filed a motion to dismiss the indictment and disqualify Fulton County District Attorney's Office. 8 co-defendants joined, and amongst them was obviously Donald Trump, and they have allegations of disqualifying conduct. Among other allegations of disqualifying conduct, defendants contend that the DA obtained a personal stake in the prosecution of this case by financially benefiting from her romantic relationship with Special Assistant District Attorney Nathan Wade. You all remember Nathan Wade and his daydreams about waxing sentimental on the stand about his nights with Fani Willis. He's the man who she personally hired to lead the state's prosecution team, which was rather illicit. More specifically, defendant Roma alleges that DA and the Special Assistant District Attorney Wade traveled together on multiple vacations. We all heard about their trips and their vacations and the monies they spent, with Wade covering all those expenses. And the state responded with an affidavit, and they were arguing that the DA hadn't actually received any financial benefit, which that didn't really pay out. That's really kind of shaky, because if you might remember, she came up there and testified that she repaid the money back. She pulled out cash. She
also said that she spent her campaign funds on personal stuff, which kind of seemed like it might be a problem.
Weirdest thing in the world. Yes, weirdest thing in the world. But I guess who's going to prosecute her? She figured. As alleged, the claims presented a possible financial conflict of interests for the DA. So that's a real problem. More importantly, defense motions, state response created a conflict in the evidence that could only be resolved through an evidentiary hearing, which you all remember, and one that cannot simply be ignored without endangering criminally accused constitutional right to due process. So we were here, and you all remember we had those 2.5 days of testimony. Defendants were provided an opportunity to subpoena and introduce whatever relevant material evidence they can muster. The court finds defendants failed to meet their burden of proving the DA acquired an actual conflict of interest in the case through a personal relationship and recurring travels. The other alleged grounds for disqualification, including forensic misconduct, are also denied. However, the established record now highlights a significant appearance of impropriety that infects the current structure of prosecution team, and appearance that must be removed through the state's selection of one or two options. Wait a second. Oh my God. Look at me. Wow, did I, Boomer? You know what I just did? I'm sitting here and I'm like, this sounds very familiar. Do you know what I just pulled up there? That's right. I pulled up an old file, which was the actual original order. I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Why is he being so detailed in this whole thing? Gosh. All right, well, that saves us a lot of time. Yes, that's right. Okay, it's after midnight. What do you want?
How does this affect the defendants who pled guilty in the case?
That's a great question. Their pleas of guilt, likely, from what I've heard and seen so far, that doesn't go away. It stays the same.
You never did it. You're saying this was malicious prosecution, so I pled guilty because the prosecutor was being malicious. Shouldn't that?
It's not malicious prosecution. They were disqualified because there was this inference of impropriety. They weren't allowed to go any further. But it almost certainly doesn't affect anything. Now, most of them, when they pled out, they weren't getting any penalties. They were getting acquittals and contemplation and dismissals, things that would ultimately be expunged from the record anyway. Mm-hmm. But yeah, once you plead out, you're basically stuck there. You're basically stuck there. But what I really wanted to share with you, what to me was ultimately what ended up happening, because I see I don't have it here. I thought I had it here, and I don't. Is I don't have the actual decision, and I apologize for that. But I can break down for you that in sum and substance, the court ended up coming out and saying, you can't get back in this case. When we brought you out, we kicked you out because of improprieties. The appellate court said you gots to go. And when they say you gots to go, you can't come in now. You're out. Adios. Well,
the entire Fulton County DA's office was excluded from the case, right?
She is considered like basically infused in the entire office.
I remember there was something weird because technically she's not part of Fulton County because
She's not part of Fulton County.
It's somebody, and she's not technically the Fulton County DA because she's DA over other counties. It's the Atlanta Metro Judicial, some weird thing in their constitution where it's like
that part of the thing you got wrong. Okay. She is the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
Well, I thought it's all of Fulton County, but I think there's other counties that she's also the DA because it's Atlanta Metro District, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. That wouldn't be relevant here. The question here is whether or not. The point is, you cannot sever her from the district from the office, right? They can't say, okay, she'll be outside because the whole office is under her purview. In theory, if there was a different assistant district attorney who had been found to have this impropriety, and that person had the problem, in theory, that person could be walled off. But because she's considered to be the office, when there's a problem with her, the entire office has got to go. And that's essentially what Judge McAfee correctly decided. Well, today, this evening, she sat down.
This is Fulton
with with Channel 2 News in Georgia, and they got to hear her take on this whole scenario. And this happened this evening at 8 o'clock. And this is what I wanted to share with you all, because I know none of you have seen it before. And you get to hear her complain about how she's a victim. She never uses the word victim, but she basically says, I'm a victim here.
County Superior Court Judge.
Let's see if I can get this a little louder. Can we boost it? Let's see if we can make you.
I'm surprised she didn't do it at a church again.
No, this is her in a. We're gonna boost this up nice.
Scott McAfee's courtroom. From a recent court order, it sounds like this could be the scene of a lot of action pertaining to the reasonableness of claimed attorney's fees in the election interference case. But this order also seems to curtail Fulton County DA Fani Willis's ability to participate, and she indicated to us she will fight it to the end, and the fight has already begun.
The fight has already begun. She's going to fight it to the end. I'm telling you now, zero chance she gets back in. Zero.
Didn't this already go to the Georgia Supreme Court and they told her to pound sand?
Yes, but now this is a different case. This is a civil case that the defendants have brought, saying we want to get our money back. So since it's a separate case, she's like, I'm demanding my way in here because it's a separate case. So let me come on in. And that's where the judge said Fulton County can come in here, but the Fulton County District Attorney's Office cannot because you are too infected. There's too big a problem with you. So you have to be removed from this entire scenario.
Fulton County has their own corporate counsel type of thing that handles lawsuits. It's not supposed to go through. Yeah. So right. She has no reason to be involved.
Right. Well, you'll hear why she thinks she does have reason to be involved.
If you're talking about taking 50% of our current personnel budget, 50% of our current operations budget, we will not adequately be able to prosecute murderers, rapists, child molesters, armed robbers.
Fani Willis in a fight over fees. The Fulton County District Attorney says she deserves a voice and whether nearly $17 million in legal fees and expenses should be reimbursed to President Trump and other former defendants in the election interference case her office pursued until she was disqualified and a special prosecutor took over and dismissed the charges. Ms. Willis says a ruling by Judge Scott McAfee denying her office's request to intervene in the case, essentially saying once she was disqualified from all aspects of the case, denies her a voice to advocate for her constituents.
My office had already prepared an appeal, and quite frankly, we've already prepared the next legal step.
DA Willis says taking almost $17 million from her budget could gut the ability to fight crime for Fulton County citizens.
Oh, I'll
She's doing a bang-up job as it is.
She is, right? She's doing a bang-up job, yeah. Maybe you shouldn't have been wasting millions of other people. So she should be able to waste millions of dollars of other people.
This case, the Young Thug case, all these, she goes for all these crazy, insane 97 RICO charges. Like, just charge the fucking murderers and the drug dealers, lady. Knock it off. Sorry.
Quick question. Why would it come from her budget? As any
it's
good
not going to come from her budget.
She's insurance. Either insurance or it comes from this, like the fund. I sit on a board and I'm currently being sued like by 3 different entities on the board I'm on. We have legal counsel, we have insurance. Like, it's not coming from our budget.
It's not a real. I'm on a government board. That's not how it works.
And I'm a firm believer of I firmly believe that if you are tried of any case, if you're tried and found not guilty, you should get your money back.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well,
I know it's not the law, but I'm saying that. But think about how much different it would be
In
if
England,
you got your money
that's
back.
the law.
What was
In
that?
England, that's the law.
Yeah, the winners win. But that's even in civil suits. Here you have a criminal suit.
No, in
And
criminal suits in England, they get their money. But if you have to pay for defense, the government has to reimburse you.
I mean, 'cause think about it.
Really?
If the
I'm
feds
pretty sure in
the
England.
feds or the state have unlimited funds to go after people, you've got to pay this money. And you look at these cases like Karen Reed and like it ruins your whole life. You know, George Zimmerman, all these people, Kyle Rittenhouse, all these people, like these funds, the fees,
the process is the punishment. Now, they would claim that Trump supporters, that he garnered a lot more than his attorney's fees through this. In fact, many of them, you know, other co-defendants likely got money by saying, "Hey, I'm standing next to Trump in court. Can you help me out?" I'm sure that virtually every one of them, none of them are fools, that they all basically started their own Give, Send, Goes or GoFundMe's or whatever they thought was appropriate in order to, you know, raise money for their legal defense. We saw even crying, what's
Jenna
her face?
Ellis, yeah, she'd raised
crying Jenna
50,000, 150,000, and
a
immediately
quarter of a
pled guilty,
million,
$250,000, and pled guilty, crying. Yeah,
yeah. She pled $250,000 and like turned around and basically said it was all Trump's fault, which was the most duplicitous thing I've seen in a while. But yeah, so here she's saying we can't operate. I agree with you, Shai. I don't think that this ends up coming from her budget, especially if it's, you know, if they're suing the state of Georgia. So why would that come from her budget? What does that have to do with anything?
Unless the Fulton County system allows them to sort of like penalize departments, but even
that doesn't even make
makes no
sense.
sense.
It's a brand new law. They wouldn't have implemented such a thing so quickly.
unless
You know
they
what I'm saying?
purposely wanted to do this to go after her because of the way she treated all the people in the Senate and the House of Georgia that dragged her in. And I don't have to answer to you. I'm a constitutional officer. That's an exact quote out of her mouth. So.
Yeah, she did say that at one point. My point is, it doesn't make any sense to think for a second that that's coming from her office budgets or that she has any sort of special reason to be in here. She's just Fani Willis. She needs to be everywhere. So she's basically trying. Now she wants to play her victim card, which she was playing a victim card all the way back before she was exposed with her whole speech in church, where she was like, "Oh yeah, they don't like black people." So here she is.
I'm still wondering if anyone's going to dig into her perjury, because when she claimed that her and Wade weren't together anymore, but yet they're still always together, going to traffic stops when her daughter gets pulled over and everything. I mean, it kind of seems like maybe there's some lies going on here.
Well, they could have been in and out, but I mean, also
I'm sure there was a lot of in and out, Joe, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual relationship. Oh, never mind. I get it now. I'm sorry. That was over my head.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Well. Anyhow, here's let's hear more from her whining
about the citizens that I represent.
Well, it says taking almost $17 million from her budget could gut the ability to fight crime for Fulton County citizens.
Oh, I'll fight it all the way to the end. We're talking about the citizens that I represent not having a district attorney's office that can function at 100%. And the citizens I represent deserve 100%.
The district attorney's office should have been focusing.
What was that?
Which citizens were you representing when you went after Trump?
These are good questions. Really, really good questions.
The ones that live in Washington, D.C.
What about all the murderers and rapists that you're trying to prosecute all the time? Apparently that wasn't such a big concern when she could get on national TV and get on The View. She all excited going around there when she was getting excited meeting Kamala Harris.
On prosecuting murderers, rapists, and robbers.
Lawyer Chris Anulowitz says he opposed the DA's intervention in behalf of several of the former defendants, all of whom maintained their innocence.
My client had to spend millions of dollars in order to defend himself to keep his freedom.
As well as says Judge McAfee allowing Fulton County government to intervene in the case isn't good enough, that she has no assurance the county will advocate for the needs of her office. And that if the judge is suggesting Special Prosecutor Pete Skandalakis, director of the State Prosecuting Attorneys Council, can handle the prosecution's point of view, Skandalakis has already raised the issue of whether he even has the authority to handle the matter.
As brilliant as his brief was regarding, that this law is unconstitutional.
Judge McAfee's order says PAC's duty includes.
So that's part of their defense, is to say that this law is unconstitutional. Another part of the defense is that
how could it be unconstitutional for a state to say that the prosecuting officers in their state, which they have control over, if you do something wrong, these people can sue to get their money back? Doesn't sound like that could be possibly unconstitutional. Where is it in the Constitution?
I maybe they're talking about the Georgia state constitution. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand.
But, you know what? Maybe they still have some laws back from the real Jim Crow that says you can't come after the state when they go.
Maybe, or it could be. It could be that, like I said, there's something in the Georgia state constitution.
AK Law
I don't
Campus
know.
is saying it requires the DA's office to reimburse the fees out of their budget.
Oh, yeah?
Well, then they purposely did this to go after her. This is like a big to Fani. We got you.
That's pretty funny.
All related aspects of the case.
She, because of the disqualification, can't participate.
The DA says the new state law the defendants are using is untested.
The Senate only came up with this law to be punitive to me because how dare
I told you. It could be punitive to me. Maybe I saw that. I started laughing just like you did.
punitive to me because how dare I prosecute their hero?
Has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with an improper prosecution.
We are already understaffed.
In a legal filing, Pete Scanlakis suggests the law at issue is, quote, likely unconstitutional on its face. Judge McAfee's order says the financial buck appears likely in some form to eventually stop at the county's desk. One may safely assume it is in the county's interest to have a functioning criminal justice system and prevent the effective shuttering of the office with sole prosecuting authority for all felonious conduct that occurs within its borders. Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
So the county would have to pay, not her office. So the county has a basis to be there.
I'm sure they have insurance.
The experts at SD Services.
Right? They've got to have malpractice or some type of insurance, right? That would cover this, maybe?
They all do. They all do. Everybody, even private companies, you have officers and leaders coverage for something like this. You don't have to have insurance coverage for things like this.
Although I would point out one reason they might not have insurance. It's a brand new law, which
because they can still be sued, Joe, for like malicious prosecution and stuff like that. They could get sued in federal court for violating people's rights. You know what I mean? So it's got to be.
If there was no basis to go after them beforehand, and there is one now, and this also, you're not going to get coverage backdated. They wouldn't have had coverage back in 2020, in 2024, 2023.
No, but they'd have coverage for if we are sued. And I don't know, whatever else you can sue a prosecutor's office for, they'd have coverage to cover that if they get sued.
Yeah, but I don't know if it. I don't know if it would cover this. Yeah, I don't know that it would cover this. But again, I think that Judge McAfee is correct. It likely would end up in Fulton County's lap. It's not going to be her thing. They're not going to shutter the doors of the district attorney's office.
I don't know, Joe. I remember arguments saying how when there were all the stuff about who she had to give documents to and who's the this and that how she doesn't have to respond because she's not part of Fulton County. She doesn't have to deal with Fulton County. Her money comes directly from the state. Doesn't go through. There was all these weird arguments going on about when like there were during the whole Trump case and different things when they were requesting documents and who owes this and who owes that. When the state was asking her questions about violating the county's rules, and well, I'm not part of the county.
I wouldn't trust anything she says about not being part of the county.
No, I think that they are considered two separate entities. This is the point that I'm getting at. They're considered two separate entities. Now, obviously, and they're a subdivision of Fulton County. Fulton County would cover the expenses of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So I would imagine, right? I mean, unless you think it's a city thing that the city of Atlanta is covering it, someone is covering it. I doubt it's coming from the state government. So it would make sense that if it's coming from the city governance or from the county governance, then that would explain why Fulton County. And that's what Judge McAfee reasoned, is that this is likely going to end up being Fulton County's bill, so that they have a reason to be in here. Because once the state of Georgia loses this case, which they almost certainly will, the novel theory that she's coming up with, it being unconstitutional, is interesting. What I think is a different argument that they can make is that she wasn't removed for misconduct the way that the bill says. She actually was removed for an impropriety, and they're basically claiming he specifically said there was not misconduct. The finding of fact was that there was not misconduct. The finding of fact was that there was the appearance of impropriety, and that appearance of impropriety is not the same thing as actual misconduct. And that since he's definitively said that there was not misconduct, that when he was trying to shield her, which he was a big fan of hers, he donated to her campaign when she was running, that when he was trying to shield her from having that stamped on her and like having on the big fat fanny basically being labeled as engaging in misconduct, instead it's like, well, it doesn't look good. And in that sense, he was protecting her, that they want to say that, well, there's a finding of fact from the trier of fact. In this situation, the judge is the trier of fact. So there's a finding of fact from the trier of fact that there was no misconduct here, and accordingly, this law should not apply to her.
If there wasn't misconduct, why did she constantly lie until she got caught? I mean, they lied about it and tried to deny that this was going on.
I'm not telling you what I think. I
know. I'm just saying.
I think there was gross misconduct. I'm just telling you what the actual decision that he issued says. The actual decision says that there wasn't misconduct.
Well, we just have to hope that some documents or communications don't come to light now that there's a different federal government that will show that there was communications from the federal government with her promising her grant money if she went after Trump.
If she went federal grant money when she
there was federal grant money. Biden gave her federal grant money to go after Trump. It's out there, Joe.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny. I didn't see that. I hadn't seen that.
So
yeah.
Just two things here. Quick Googling put this out there. The Atlanta's not fully in Fulton County. Only about 90% is in Fulton County. The rest is in DeKalb County. DeKalb. Probably mispronouncing that. And yes, 100% Fulton County District Attorney's Office is part of Fulton County. The only difference is that she's not appointed by anybody in Fulton County. She's elected to the position. Other than that, it's fully funded by the county. They're going to hold the bill, at least according to Google. My quick Googling while we're sitting here.
And I think that's the likely. I think that's the most likely scenario. It's the most logical answer to this question is that they ultimately are the ones who are going to have to pay the bill, and that's really what
officer of Fulton County.
And that's what Judge McAfee ultimately ended up deciding. He's like, your interests are going to be represented by them. Like, how are your interests not protected by Fulton County? They are. So if your interests are protected by them, so you're an unnecessary party to get in here. So that basically is the basis that she got rejected and kept out. And she's saying she's going to keep fighting. But I'll tell you right now, she can keep fighting. She's going to keep losing every time she fights. Have you seen her? Have we seen her win yet? Give me an example of Fani Willis winning.
Well, she did get that guy, Dunk Thug, to plead guilty as long as she dropped all the main charges and let him go home.
Yeah.
After a 9-month trial or whatever it was going on, or a 10-month trial.
How did I forget that?
I guess that's a win. You know?
I don't know how I forgot that.
She got that judge to make a fool of himself and almost, whatever, get him removed from the case.
Could be that too. Could be that too. Now, Uzelian asked me to check something out. Something said something to make fun of the FBI. I'm not sure what this is here, but he had asked me to check this out. Oh, yeah, this is I almost opened with this thing that he shared with me. I'll share it with you. It's amusing. I'll share it with you. I won't be greedy. This guy's hilarious. I don't even know who he is, but he's really funny.
Did you see the actual? Oh, sorry. Did you see the actual DA or whatever and talk about this?
Not other than the clip I shared.
Oh, I'll get it for you. Hold on.
Go ahead.
In regards to the Michigan car ramming, we do not yet have a motive. And yes, the suspect happened to have been a Muslim, but that was an unrelated coincidence. And yes, there have been several other unrelated coincidences over the past few days, but that's what they are, just coincidences. We have not yet figured out if there's a pattern here. There was a vicious rumor going around the suspect's name was Muhammad. And I'm just going to say that was pure Islamophobia. There was no... Oh, that was the name of a suspect in the different shooting today in Virginia? Okay. Well, the important thing is to not make this about Islamophobia. I feel like a broken record here. And obviously thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the car rammer. In regard
Thoughts and prayers to the family of the car rammer. What are you sharing with me here? What is
It's a
this?
national sickness.
Oh yeah.
We live in a country where people care more about guns than they care about 6-year-old children.
I saw
They
this
care
guy.
more about guns than they care about synagogue worshipers. And they
Shut
care
up.
more about guns than they do about college students. What that means is that it does not matter how hard President Hemphill works, how hard the chiefs work.
Joe, there's no audio on this.
Somebody will be a victim eventually.
You don't have audio?
It is a matter of time.
not hearing
And
it, so I
until
don't know
there
if
is
the
the
audience is
political
hearing it.
will.
You're hearing it, right, Joe? I'm hearing it.
I hear it. If I hear it, then how are they not hearing it?
Well, I can turn it up.
They might be hearing it. I'm just saying from my end, I'm not hearing it.
Hold on, I'll turn it up. I'll go back to the beginning.
No, I heard it fine.
Okay.
To break the spell of the cult of gun absolutism, you will
Did I?
see more incidents like this. So if you're looking for somebody to blame, don't look at anybody up here. Look at our lawmakers who don't have the courage to implement sensible gun control measures. Look to a Supreme Court that enables them and do something about it. So that is the
Do something about it. Is he calling for someone to kill Supreme Court justices? Because that sounds like to me.
I don't know what the hell he's saying, other than that he hates guns.
Like the guy was not allowed to own guns.
Yeah.
What the hell else are you supposed to do? Collect? Do you want us to go? His sensible gun controls to confiscate everyone's guns?
I'm not saying this is a fact. I want to be clear. I'm saying this opinion. Just look at the guy. Look at the guy. Are you telling me he does? This is not some. Is this someone you would allow around your children? No, no. I respectfully submit. Okay, I would never. If I was walking down the street and I saw this guy, I would expect him to be like muttering to himself about the Zygorthians, or or it's just some random string of words with expletives laced in there. Look at the guy. I mean, just look at this guy. So he's some lunatic. So part of his lunacy. Would any of you be surprised that this guy is found 5 years from now to have really unsettling pictures on his computer? No. Just look at him. Look at him. Look at it. Look. I want you to look.
I'm looking. But if I had to ask you to guess who funded his campaign to become DA, who would you think it was?
George Soros.
There you go.
Yeah. And look at this guy. Look at him. I mean, come on. It's like, do I have to give you 5 years in the future when this guy is led away?
I don't think we got to wait 5
chains?
years. I think 9 months. The way things have been going, about 9 months, he'll be arrested.
And this guy is being led away in chains, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, wow! I can't believe that he had 30,000 pictures on his computer, or something sickening like that."
They were just there for research, though. He said.
It's sick. I don't know. I'm stating opinion. I'm not. I want to be 100% clear because I'm certainly not looking to be sued for defamation in case he has bleach for his computer. So I am stating.
In case he wipes it with a cloth.
Yeah, but let's hear the rest of this idiocy from the schmuck.
Let's mourn the people who have died. Let's decry what has happened, but let's keep the focus where it belongs. It belongs on us and having to change something so that we don't have to suffer through this.
Maybe it's the wandering eye or something. I don't know what it is. You're telling me that I missed your dono on green light, or that I missed your dono on green light. I did not miss that. I pulled this up. My co-hosts here will back me up on this. I even made a comment about how there is a certain irony that they won't work with us. They won't work with federal agents and sanctuary cities. I did pull it up, Spuds. I don't want to do you like that.
We definitely discussed this.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a guy who wants an invite again in the future. Unlike Jim. I don't know. Listen, I love Fat Electrician. I didn't see the Cassius Clay for 1860s. I didn't, but yeah, I'll try to check it out. I love watching his show with Sin. Yeah, Sin adds a different quality here. KPT Times cannot see the gift memberships.
I don't know.
You should be able to see it. It's right there. There's a little
You
dollar.
click on the dollar sign like you're going to
click on the dollar sign.
Membership, membership gifting.
Yeah, there's a little scroll down when you hit the dollar sign thing.
It's there.
And you'll find it there. Yeah, that's where they are. That's where they is. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight, my friend?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. I saw you.
I did send you a whole bunch of stuff.
You sent me links. Was there one in particular that you thought was like that was really particularly juicy? This is how I get double views. This is how I double my views. I make you watch twice.
Well, it was a good ruling that Lake and Riley's killer won't get a new trial. That was a good ruling.
That is good.
But that was a good one. And
is there more to it than beyond what you just said?
Did you cover the CBS investigation that discovered over 700?
Oh, that one's interesting.
Hospices,
yeah. Let's pull that one up. Yeah, let's pull that one up. Let's give it. Let's go there. All right, let me do it. Let's do that.
What do you want to look? The Post, Post Millennial.
Joe is considering it. Joe is considering.
Breitbart. Which do you want to go?
Landing the plane. Let's go Post Millennial.
If it'll ever load. There we go.
All right.
Is that too big?
That's good. Well, maybe it's a little big. LA County Hospice fraud, 89 providers registered to same building, CBS reports. About 500 hospices are operating within a 3-mile radius, with 137 located on Van Nuys Boulevard alone.
You remember this was when Oz was in California and he said about the fraud, and Gavin Newsom called him, said it was because because of the Turkish and Armenian genocide thing, because they're Armenian mafia basically controlling these hospice. And so he said it's because of the whole thing, because of the Turks, because he's bigoted against Armenians.
You would think 500 hospice centers is excessive.
I don't think there's 500 hospice centers.
For some reason, I think it's a StreamYard issue.
You don't hear me now?
I hear you fine. I just can't hear Jim. I hear you, but I don't hear Jim.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a StreamYard thing.
I don't understand why. I hear him fine.
Yeah.
You want to pop out and back in?
Let me try that.
All right. There's KPT gifting a Jim Tells You membership. There you go.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. CBS News investigations revealed indicators of widespread fraud occurring in California hospice care industry, particularly in LA County. The report analyzed current licenses and business records of roughly 1,800 hospice care centers in the county and found that over 700 of them, or 42%, triggered red flags for fraud. This comes after the state of California issued a crackdown on the hospice care industry after a 2023 state audit showed that LA County hospices overbilled Medicare by $105 million in 1 year, resulting in the revocation of 280 hospice licenses. Auditors were triggered to investigate the matter after seeing a 1,500% increase in hospice companies since 2010. 1,500%. It didn't double. It got multiplied by a factor of 15. Unbelievable.
It's the same thing's going to happen with the child care stuff. It's just, you give them a way to steal the money, they're going to steal the money. And when that money just happens to be flowing back into the Democrat coffers, they're all too happy. Why isn't Keith Ellison been arrested for taking the money from the people that were being investigated from fraud after he promised to do something to stop the fraud? That's a straight up bribe.
Looked like it. I don't know if you can call it straight up bribe, but it looked like it had an odor of mendacity. That's the best. That's the most polite way I can frame it. I'm gonna go down. Is there more to this?
Oh yeah.
Despite the effort, the CBS News report shows that there appears to be a significant amount of fraud still occurring. When reporters went to one building in Van Nuys Los Angeles, they found 89 different hospice care providers registered at one building. The building appeared to be predominantly empty and had overflowing mailboxes, signaling indicators of fraud per the reports. According to research, about 500 hospices are operating within a 3-mile radius, with 137 of them located on Van Nuys Boulevard alone. Federal inspection records show that officials discovered flaws in the Van Nuys building during visits between 2021 and 2025. You would think that that would have had them shut down, but no, they're still going. According to CBS News study, roughly 40% of those companies share the same employees, including administrators, medical directors, and owners. The paper contacted 56 of the Van Nuys hospice offices and discovered disconnected phone numbers and or invalid dials. Several businesses answered the phone calls and denied any indicators of fraud, claiming they serve real patients. Oh, that's nice. At least they have someone answering phones. According to a report, LA County billed Medicare roughly $29,000 per patient, which is double the national average of $13,200. It's more than double if you do the math. The highest rate billed in the county was $74,000 per patient. At least 7 hospices submitted bills to Medicare that had 0 patients. VML, one of the hospice agencies, billed roughly $49,000 per patient. The agency shares a building with other hospice centers and shares employees with multiple companies. So there's a lot of double dipping going. CBS reporters found VML's office building empty, mail piling up at the door. VML stopped billing Medicare in 2024, but still has an active license. Next door to VML is World Health Hospice, which was locked, didn't have a voicemail box set up, according to the review. Also revealed at least 75 people employed across the same 5 hospice companies. 75 people. California Attorney General Rob Bonta, Democrat, surprise, surprise, told that paper that more than 100 people have been criminally charged in the hospice industry since the 2023 crackdown. However, he acknowledged that additional efforts are necessary. Quote, "We need to be responsive to the red flags and react to them, not just count them," he said. "Our main lane is the accountability side, the criminal investigations, civil investigations. That's after the damage is done, though, unfortunately." So there you go. There you go. All right.
Somebody in the medical field, this is like, how does nobody catch on to that? The hospice definitionally used to mean you'd be dying within 6 months. Now it's up to about a year in certain cases.
I thought the vast majority of them were like 5, 6
everybody
days.
in California dying?
500 centers. Yeah, that's what I said. That's a lot of people dying. That's a lot of people dying. The least you dogs can do is hit that like button, subscribe, and share the freaking stream. Amen. Thank you, Heisenberg. KPT Times gifting another Jim Tells You membership.
Oh, that's very nice of her.
Julio Scissors saying, "Who's the fellow taking Bella's spot tonight?" Come on. Come on. That's how you're gonna do him? Is that how you're gonna do him? New York Real is saying, "The California medical grift, you can do 10 shows. I've been offered to use my name for hospice about 100 times since coming to California." Yeah, I'm sure they do a little kickback there. Like, let us use your name and we'll someone could be on a hospice.
I think that's what they were doing with the ADHD treatments in Minnesota, right? They were telling the families, all these Somalis, sign up for this, you'll get the money, we'll kick you back the money. And that's how they got caught, is people complaining they weren't getting enough money.
Yeah.
That's usually how you get caught. It's almost like, I'm not happy with my cut of this grift. I want more. And then they're like, oh, wait, what? You said something to the wrong person.
And that's what I've got for you tonight. I thank you all for joining me. Jim, you want to tell people where they can find you?
You can find me on all major platforms at Jim Tells You. Jim Tells You. Or on X, I'm just Jim Satala. That's my name. Don't worry.
If you give me a link, I'll share that in the script.
Alrighty.
And I'm going to remind you all that tomorrow's Friday. I'm not going to be here. Saturday, if there's big news, I'll be here. If not, we'll see. Let's see. That's what I got for you. I thank you for joining me, Shy. Always a pleasure. And yeah, what should they know about lab meat? What was the thing?
Probably don't eat it. Maybe.
Yeah. Why not?
Definitely don't swallow.
It's not meant for you. It's meant for they them. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Have a good night, everyone. As always, Godspeed.